This is DW News Africa. Coming up on the show, should I stay or should I go? That is the question running through the minds of many African migrants who've made South Africa their home. Hundreds of demonstrators have been taking to the streets of major cities across the Rainbow Nation, they say, to protest high levels of illegal immigration. Organizers reject accusations that they are xenophobic, but listen to the rhetoric of some demonstrators. The hostility, attacks, and in some cases killings have got African leaders concerned. Mozambique's president got this response from his South African counterpart, Cyril Ramaphosa.
South Africans inherently are not against people from other nations. We are one people. We have always been one people. And of course, we've got to also pay heed to the security of those from other countries who are in South Africa, but also pay heed to the concerns that are being raised by South Africans.
Nigerians have been one of the groups targeted. Hundreds say they want to go home and want help from their homeland, but the government in Abuja says they have to pay their own way or stay put in South Africa. Hello, I'm Mhundwa. Welcome to DW News Africa. Should I stay or should I go? That is the question running through the heads right now of many migrants from across Africa who've made South Africa their home, only to find their children denied schooling, themselves harassed in hospital when they seek healthcare, and their barricaded businesses looted and burnt out. Violence against foreign nationals has flared up again and again in South Africa, and many people now fear that tongues of that flame seem to be flickering again. Hundreds of South Africans have been taking to the streets of major cities, they say, to protest high levels of illegal immigration. South Africa's economic opportunities attract migrants both legally and also without the necessary papers. Now, anti-immigration groups say they want strict enforcement of the law and mass deportations. Now, many of those groups are not new, but the umbrella is the anti-immigration organization March and March. It's attracting similar groups, including Operation Dudula and political parties Action SA and Patriotic Alliance. Now, March and March has gained prominence in South Africa by mobilizing demonstrations against illegal immigration. Our reporter caught up with Jacinta Ngobese Zuma, founder of March and March. Take a listen.
Well, today's march is a continuation of our grievances to our government to further reinforce our stand that we are tired of illegal immigrants in South Africa. And more than anything, we are being labeled as xenophobic today because of the government who failed to act on people who are not supposed to be in the country in the first place. And now they have come into the country. They're conducting themselves in the most ridiculous of manners, and nobody points their attention at them. It's always South Africans who are xenophobic. The amounts of crime that we have to put up with at the hands of illegal immigrants. I mean, even the police right now have been on the lookout for a foreign national, was it Sibande, who killed 2 policemen in public. But they haven't been able to find him for months now. And it's further proof, if they are killing policemen, who are we as South Africans? So we're tired of being labeled as xenophobic. In fact, we don't even care if you call us that anymore. But we're not going to sit by and watch our country be destroyed at the hands of foreign nationals who've got nothing to lose because they know they can always go back to their country, while we have everything to lose because this country is everything that we have.
That may sound reasonable, but there are other voices in this movement. Get out is the brutal message that anti-immigrant marches in South Africa had for immigrants in major cities. And it's not the first time that they've heard such words. Since 2008, the country has seen periodic spikes in tension. So why does violence against foreign nationals keep flaring up in South Africa? Well, DW's Southern Africa correspondent Diane Hawker-Kalubi takes a look, and we should warn you, her report begins with offensive language.
You
Strong words from a South African woman speaking to African and Asian immigrants in South Africa's capital of Pretoria. She's one of hundreds of people who recently marched demanding that immigrants leave the country. It's not the first time immigrants have been targeted in South Africa. In 2008, large xenophobic clashes saw thousands displaced. In 2015 and 2017, African and Asian immigrants were again chased out of townships and forced to close their businesses. Since 2021, several anti-immigrant groups have gained prominence in the country, with some even contesting for national office. In these instances, the complaints were similar: not enough jobs, limited resources, and inaction from the government. Analysts say to understand why anti-immigrant sentiment keeps resurfacing, you have to look at broader frustrations with the government.
In the last few years, every year since 2023, we've had over 23 protests a day on average in South Africa. The majority of those protests are about service delivery, are about housing, are about corruption, and are about joblessness. So when you add to that the question of immigration, you must realize that you are adding it to a wide range of issues that people are raising and a wide range of factors that are driving people's dissent and discontent.
Anti-immigrant groups have also complained that there are too many undocumented immigrants in the country, and the government acknowledges that it needs to improve the border management process. This year it proposed immigration reforms, but these are yet to become law.
We must also realize that government knows that it is also part of the problem. It is also part of the reason why we aren't able to have a checked, well accounted for immigration system. So the system is failing everyone, including immigrants, and South Africans know the government is not going to step up.
For those who sought better opportunities in South Africa, a new tough decision awaits: to stay and face angry protesters or return home. The Nigerian Citizens Association of South Africa is trying to help hundreds of Nigerians get back to their home country.
We've received over 300 names that have submitted willingly and voluntarily that they will want to be assisted. They've long wanted to go home, but the resources with which to go home, the flight ticket, or maybe how they will continue to maintain their livelihood or family here, it's very, very difficult. The economy is not favoring them.
Onyekwelo says he's been in South Africa for 20 years and considers Johannesburg his home, but admits that the current political climate has him concerned.
During the last serious one, I think it's 2019 or thereabout, where many businesses were damaged. It affected me as well because I have to move out of my residence as at then, because it was a targeted area, and moved into another secure place for safety of my children and my livelihood. And it took quite some time. Money was lost, income were lost, businesses were closed. But then, at the end of the day, we have to pick our piece of our bodies together and continue to move. We love South Africa.
The South African government has assured immigrants that it will crack down on any criminality linked to immigration protests.
The hostility, which is mostly directed towards African nationals, has set alarm bells ringing across the continent, with many governments summoning diplomats and issuing warnings to their citizens in South Africa. Ghana has reported South Africa to the African Union, formally asking for the recurring attacks on foreign nationals in South Africa to be put on the agenda at an upcoming AU meeting. Ethiopia's embassy in Pretoria advised its citizens to report incidents of violence after 5 of them were reportedly killed. Kenya's diplomats in Pretoria have advised all Kenyan nationals in South Africa to remain vigilant and carry valid identification. And last month, Zimbabwe's embassy issued an urgent safety advisory to its nationals, advising vigilance. Guinea-Bissau's Prime Minister has summoned South Africa's ambassador to express his deep concern, but it is perhaps Nigeria and Mozambique which have been most vocal in their criticism. Now, Mozambique and South Africa share a land border where many have been moving in one direction. Fear, fueled by reports of violence spreading rapidly on social media, has moved many Mozambicans to return to their homeland. Our reporter was there, caught up with Daniel Timoteo Godinho. He's a vegetable trader. He told DW that after 26 years living in South Africa, he did not need to witness an attack to feel that it was his time to leave.
I am returning from South Africa because of the attitude of South Africans towards Mozambicans, Nigerians, Angolans and Zimbabweans. That is why we are coming back home, because we are suffering in South Africa. I can't even continue my tomato business anymore.
What is happening in South Africa?
South Africans don't want foreigners anymore. They hurt us. They assault us.
Did you see people being assaulted?
Not in person, only on social media.
And are you returning home out of fear?
Yes. I left nothing behind in South Africa. All my belongings are in the car for the journey home. If the situation improves, maybe I will return to South Africa. I don't know yet.
Well, so great the concern that President Daniel Chapo travels to meet his counterpart in Pretoria, President Cyril Ramaphosa. The two men meet ostensibly to discuss economic cooperation, but it became clear that Ramaphosa was addressing deeper concerns. Does the Rainbow Nation have a problem with other black Africans? Well, here's what South Africa's president had to say.
So as also to deal with troubling issues such as what we have experienced in South Africa, which I have spoken about, that South Africans inherently are not against people from other nations. We are one people. We have always been one people. And of course, we've got to also pay heed to the security of those from other countries who are in South Africa, but also pay heed to the concerns that are being raised by South Africans. President Chapo and myself discussed this matter, and we agreed that we should work together. It's not only one country that is affected, and all countries that have foreign nationals in South Africa are also affected as South Africa is affected, so we must all work together, join hands to find solutions to this problem. And in the past, we have found solutions, and we say South Africans do not have a hatred to other people from other countries on our continent. They supported us during our struggle, and much as South Africans are going through tough economic challenges right now, we also need to be acting as people who are kind and welcoming to other people from other nations. But we also say to employers in South Africa that we've passed a law that people who do not have the necessary work permits in South Africa, yes, should not be employed. We should give way to South Africans. And at the same time, we encourage all people from other nations to make sure that they have proper documentation to be in South Africa, like South Africans need to have proper documentations to be in other countries.
Well, as we heard from the Nigerian Citizens Association of South Africa earlier, hundreds of Nigerians who are resident there have asked their government to help them repatriate after the rise in attacks against foreign nationals in the country. Nigeria's foreign ministry has condemned the violence against them, but stopped short of helping them return home.
If you stay here long enough, somebody is going to tell you to go back to your country. So yes, that's my bag. I'm going back to my country.
Many, like this Nigerian man, are leaving South Africa. But if you want to leave, you'll have to pay your own way. That's what the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is saying.
It's self-funded. It's self-funded, so you are not waiting for an aircraft from Nigeria to convey you to either Lagos or Abuja.
The ministry says those who want to return can do so voluntarily and independently. They have also asked South African authorities to take stronger action.
The government of Nigeria condemned the violence against Nigerians in South Africa, but as a country, we said we are not satisfied with just mere statement. We need actions from the South African government. So fine, they've given us the assurances, but for this time around, we want tangible proofs that you have taken A, B, C, D actions to ensure and guarantee the safety of Nigerians living in South Africa. South Africa has a lot of business interests in Nigeria.
In Abuja, people say their government needs to act with more urgency to protect fellow Nigerians abroad.
For over 4 months now, this xenophobic attack on Nigerians and other African nationals living in South Africa has not attracted the condemnation of Cyril Ramaphosa, who is the president of South Africa.
What our government have to do is to liaise with the South African government, and see how they can able to stop it, because this is not the first time this issue has been coming up, where they start maltreating foreigners, killing foreigners.
Talking is a step, but I feel that sanctions will do much better.
For now, Nigerians who want to get here back home will have to fend for themselves.
To get some more reporting on the fallout of the attacks on foreign nationals in South Africa, we're bringing in our correspondents, Diane Hawker Kalubi in Johannesburg and Azizat Olaoluwa in Lagos. Welcome to you both. Azizat, to you first. The Nigerian government has said Nigerian nationals who want to leave South Africa and return to Nigeria have to make their own way home. What more can you tell us?
Absolutely. That was what the spokesperson of the Nigerian Foreign Affairs Ministry said, that it's a voluntary repatriation. So it means that whoever wants to come back home to the country have to fund their own travel, basically, with their families. And he also said that there are actually 2 categories of Nigerian citizens in South Africa who have indicated voluntary repatriation. On one side, there are those who have complete documents to stay legally in South Africa, and on the other, those that have travel documents violations or resident permit violations. So it means that they need to have like a discussion with the authorities in South Africa to be able to allow them to have like a leeway out of the country back to their home. So the discussion is ongoing. So the main information, like you said, is that whoever wants to come back home has to foot the bill for themselves.
And Diane, as we understand it, demonstrations against illegal migration organized by the group March and March are continuing. Are foreign nationals also still being blocked from accessing some public schools and hospitals, as has been happening in recent weeks?
Well, in terms of the March and March tactics, it seems like they focused more on marching in large groups in South Africa's major cities and not so much with the hospital and school blockades. There was a school blockade that happened at the end of April, but now they've gone to Pretoria, Johannesburg, and most recently to the Durban city centre to march. And the approach seems to be more focused on handing over letters of demand to provincial and municipal leaders who they feel need to act to meet some of their demands. Their main issue seems to be that they believe that the government should be improving on immigration processes, but also ring-fencing certain jobs and certain sectors for South Africans. And that's why they focused more on handing over these memoranda to different government officials.
And just staying with you, Diane, the South African government has condemned what one official described as vigilante attacks on foreign nationals. But have the authorities also stepped up to protect people that are being targeted?
Well, what we've seen mostly is that there's been a large police presence during the marches themselves. But the vigilante attacks tend to happen very sporadically and sometimes on the sidelines of these marches. And sometimes they have been happening completely separated from that. And that seems to be where the police and government officials are really playing a lot of catch-up. For example, in Tembisa, we saw on Wednesday that there was a group of people marching around that area demanding that foreign-owned shops, immigrant-owned shops, close their doors. And there wasn't a significant police presence there. And I think that is one of the issues that many people in the immigrant community raise here, that the government's response does tend to be delayed and doesn't always seem to know what's happening when it is actually happening.
Aziza, there have been high-level diplomatic talks between South Africa and Nigeria. Where do things stand?
Absolutely, and things stand on one understanding, and that is that the safety of Nigerians has to be assured in South Africa, and both ministers have said that that is the working mechanism they will work with, because the Nigerian foreign minister wants Nigerians to feel safe, especially those that are in South Africa legally, because it's not the first time Nigerians will be targeted in such xenophobic attacks. So they have an understanding, because these two countries are the two of the superpowers on the continent, and they have robust understanding on so many grounds, even economically. So they say that they don't want things to go out of hand, and the assurance is that Nigerian citizens will be kept safe. And this came on the back of the incident of 2 Nigerians getting killed last month.
Right. As we understand it, Aziza, there was also a discussion in the Nigerian parliament on the attacks on foreign nationals in South Africa. Can you fill us in on the tone and the outcome of that debate?
Absolutely. It was an emotional moment in Parliament on Tuesday when Nigerian lawmakers expressed concern about the safety of their fellow citizens in South Africa, and they asked the leadership of the Parliament to invoke the principle of reciprocity on South African businesses in the country. And however, the Senate President, Akpabio, said that they will not do that because, Nigeria is known to be a peaceful nation, so they will not take on any form of economic sanctions that will, affect the operations of foreign businesses on the soil. However, a committee is proposed to be set up by the 2 parliaments in the country, and their plan is to travel down to South Africa to meet with fellow parliamentarians and to find a way forward in order for this not to go out of hand, because Nigerians are getting angry back home. There was a little group of people that even went to protest at the High Commissioner, South Africa's High Commissioner's office earlier, a few days ago. So they don't want this to get out of hand. And that is why the Parliament had to step up yesterday, saying that they will do something. It's no longer the time to stay on the sidelines.
As we saw in your report, Diane, since the 2007 attacks on foreign nationals, this violence has continued to flare up in South Africa. Is it clearer now as to what triggers these campaigns against specifically foreign nationals, mostly from neighboring African countries?
Well, Christine, I've covered different parts of this, these xenophobic uprisings and anti-immigrant protests since as far back as 2008. And there seem to be some recurring themes which include a feeling that South Africans are closed out of the economic space. In South Africa, a lot of the local community shops are owned and run by Asian and African business people. But they also do run many other types of businesses, including transportation businesses, taking goods from South Africa to other parts of the continent. And there is a feeling amongst those who tend to protest that certain spaces should be reserved for South Africans. Spaces like that local shops, which are called spaza shops. And there's also been a call that the restaurant industry, for example, which does have a lot of immigrant workers, that should also be ring-fenced. When you look at it, it really does come down to a lot of economic issues, issues relating to jobs, and sometimes also issues relating to services. And a lot of that can be placed back at the doorstep of the government. But in this case, those who are raising these concerns, like March and Operation Dudula, have said that they don't get enough feedback from the government. They haven't gotten any kind of positive response. And as a result, they then taking their complaints to the people that they argue are responsible. So it's quite a complicated issue with complicated concerns, which does seem like these groups have taken the simplest route to solve, but really the issues are something that South Africa has been grappling with: unemployment and a poor economic state that has been going on for many, many years.
All right, thank you both, Azizat Olaoluwa in Lagos and Diane Hawker Kalubi in Johannesburg. Much appreciated.
Pleasure.
Well, that is it for the program, but please be sure to check out our other stories. We're on dw.com/Africa. We're also on social media, where we're always interested to hear your feedback on the stories we report on and the stories that you think we should be reporting. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.